Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar today. Unfortunately, I'm having a little bit of a tech issue, so I'm not able to show my camera. So you're just going to be able to hear my voice today, so sorry about that. But I hope everyone is enjoying their Friday and looking forward to engaging with you all in this webinar today, which is entitled Technology for Good, Personalized, Scalable Wellbeing for Every Student. My name is James Larkus, and I am a board certified health and wellness coach, and I serve as both the content manager for you at college, as well as an affiliate faculty member at Metropolitan State University of Denver, where I teach within our health and wellness content areas. I'm looking forward to engaging in this webinar today, getting some insights. We'll have some interactive stuff to do as well. So hoping that we can sort of be able to think about our students holistically and the support of them as we sort of progress. So thank you for being here. Some of the learning outcomes that I hope that we can discuss today is first, by the end of sort of this webinar, I hope we're able to articulate substance use as a salient issue facing higher education institutions, something I'm sure you all know and are interested in because you're here today through IHEC. Secondly, I want to be able to understand the need for personalized, holistic programming and interventions for student success. Then I want to share a little bit about some of the work that we're doing at you at college and how we are able to support students and campus administrators on this journey, and share a little bit of a mental model of how we're thinking about student success, as well as then sort of appraise a scalable technological solution for student well-being. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We'll, like I said, interact with one another, do a couple activities, or one activity in particular, but that is our goal and our plan today for the next 45 minutes or so. So as we get started, substance use and the college experience. Well, I'm going to share some data. I just want to kind of start out a little bit more broad, maybe a little bit more light and fun. I don't know if fun is the right exact word, but to talk about how college and alcohol and other drugs in particular are portrayed in the media, which I think that really influences the way that our students come to campus and think about and form their relationship or their first ideas of a relationship with substances on campus. So we see everything from movies like Animal House or Old School, which really I think present this particular version of what it's like to be on college and what role substances play in the college experience. In these movies, obviously, it plays a very strong critical role, and also I think promotes a lot of concepts like binge drinking and just constant use on campus, which we know is not necessarily the full college experience. We also see this in movies like The Neighbors. If you've seen this one, just to kind of give different, some older movies and a little bit more current movies as well. But also knowing and just capturing the energy around the most recent HBO show, Euphoria, seeing that this is not only a topic that is being shown in the college experience, but even younger. You'll see high school parties even portrayed in movies and television shows as well. And Euphoria, I think, has garnered a lot of attention recently because of its central focus around substances, recovery, and a bunch of other topics, mental health in particular. But to see how the national conversation is often framed through social outlets and through TV shows and movies. So that really starts to inform what students think about their college experience and what role substances will play. To contextualize this a little bit more, and in some national data, this is from the 2021 reference study, a summary from the National College Health Assessment put on by the American College Health Association. So what you're seeing here on the chart is use amongst the participants who took the survey in relation to tobacco, alcohol, and other drug use. On the left-hand side, you will see the particular substance In the middle, you will see percentage of students who have ever used that particular substance. And then you will also see then on the right-hand side, in particular, use amongst these participants if they've used substances within the past 3 months. So I'm not going to read each of them directly, but what we can see is that there's trends around substance use in relation to tobacco, to alcohol, to cannabis in particular. I'm here in Denver, and we see my most recent position before this was at the University of Denver, and we were continually seeing the trends for cannabis use going up and up for a variety of reasons. Obviously, because of the legalization here in the state of Colorado, but we were also hearing anecdotally and through some of our campus-specific research that we were doing in assessment, the rise in mental health and cannabis being a potential coping mechanism or something that they would use to cope with the mental health challenges that we are facing on campus. But as you go down, you can also see rates of use for things like cocaine, prescription stimulants, methamphetamines, inhalants, sedative or sleeping pills, heroin, and prescription opioids. You can see these are also broken up based off of how people identify as either cis men, cis women, or transgender or gender non-conforming. So those are broken up here, and I highly encourage you, if you have not already, to just sort of check out the data there to see how it relates or doesn't relate to some of the things that are happening on your campus. And you might even be a campus who is particularly using this study. Some other data here to look at is also from the National College Health Assessment. And what I like about the most recent iterations, if this is a new assessment to you, or if you've been with it for a long time, someone who's worked in health and well-being for the past 10 years has really appreciated that they're also moving to some standardized measures. And this newest iteration of the National College Health Assessment, they were able to put in some questions and particular research validated skills around things like resilience and happiness and loneliness, and specifically for substance use, they did the ASSIST. So they did the substance specific involvement scores from ASSIST, and what they've shown nationally is that 11.6% of students and participants rank as moderate use of alcohol, according to that, and 14.4 rank as moderate use of cannabis, according to this. And I don't have it listed on here, but in terms of what the ASSIST would share, it's around 1% are at high risk, according to the ASSIST of the students who participated in this study. Additionally, not shown here, but I know some things that I've circled as I constantly am following and trying to see the trends and data of what's happening globally and nationally as it pertains to this issue is binge drinking. So one of the particular questions on this study is, in the last time that you've drank, how many drinks did you have? And so 73% of students said that they had 4 or fewer in their last social setting. 9% said they had 5, 6% said that they had 6 drinks in their last social setting, and 11% said that they had 7 drinks or more. As we know, we kind of define binge drinking as having 5 or more drinks in one setting. And then the past 2 weeks, there's also some research and data that's being shared by the National College Health Assessment around the frequency by which that is happening. And just to pull one out in particular, about 6% of our student participants who took this survey said that they binge drinked, had 5 or more drinks in one setting, 3 to 5 times in the past 2 weeks. So that's almost half of the time. 6% of our students are saying that. And I'm just curious for you all, if you're able to, and I believe we are on this webinar, if you are able to sort of throw in what sort of trends are you seeing as it pertains to substance use on your particular campus or from your vantage point. If you could throw that into the chat.
And then just to add, James,
Yeah,
the attendees, their responses will be in the question panel, not in the chat panel. And then
got
we
it.
can have, okay.
Thank you. Yep, someone's saying, yep, the chat is disabled. So if you do want to throw it into the question area, feel free to use that as sort of a dialogue and or questions for this. But if you have any trends that you're seeing on your campus, I would love to sort of hear them. Because the important thing that I've seen is while national data is important, there's a huge need and importance for us to be really local in how we think about this. Each campus is going to be different. And we have actually seen that, and I'll show some of the data that we've seen with some of our campus partners that we work with on how, yes, national data might give us an overall picture, but campus by campus, demographic by demographic, year by year, we are starting to see maybe particular trends, and it might be different for you based on your unique situation. Seeing one coming here, not in US, but issues with ketamine and nitrous oxide use. Very interesting. Thank you for that, Rebecca, and throwing that into the chat / more so the questions portion. But thank you. Feel free to continue to throw those in should you like. But as the pivot I kind of want to start to make is talking about alcohol and other drugs is important. It's vital, but it's also not operating in a silo. We know that alcohol and other drug use is often connected to a variety of other health and wellness topics, concerns, and data. I used the example earlier about the use of cannabis on campus from my experiences working at the University of Denver, and how a lot of that was actually being connected to mental health concerns, mental health issues, and seeing cannabis as a way to potentially aid or help in that regard. So we know that there's sort of conflated issues of mental health and substance use. But I wanted to share this. This is also from the National College Health Assessment to show when people did engage with alcohol or other drugs, when they engaged with substances. And in this instance, this survey that you're seeing, or this question you're seeing, is related to alcohol. When they drank alcohol, did they experience the following the last 12 months? And you can see that just drinking alcohol doesn't affect just sort of your intake, but it does impact behavior, it does impact your mental health, it impacts your physical health, your sexual relationships, your interpersonal relationships, etc. So alcohol and other drugs is sort of an interrelated and interconnected topic that we need to understand and situate within the holistic student experience. This is some data that has been taken to sort of show what I was talking about in terms of alcohol and other drug use and how it is maybe co-occurs with mental health concerns. So the 20.3 million adults with substance use disorders, about 38% of them also have mental illness. So they kind of go they kind of go hand in hand in some ways. And again, it's not a standalone issue. They often really impact multiple areas of our lives. And similarly, on the right-hand side, among the 42.1 million Americans with mental illness, about 18% also have are diagnosed or meet criteria for substance use disorders. So just trying to get us to sometimes complicate our thinking. I know when I first started to work in the health and wellness space, we often have people who work specifically on one topic. We have a gender violence prevention coordinator or assistant director. We have an alcohol or other drug coordinator or assistant director. And I think we're starting to see some trends where not only are those people continuing to do the good work on those very salient health and wellness topics and concerns, but also seeing the interrelatedness and starting to work and or have their jobs being shifted into more comprehensive and interconnected type positions. Just quickly here, again, I thought that it was important to see how again, AOD doesn't stand in a silo, but it really does impact a variety of different areas. So going back to the National College Health Assessment, about 15% of students who drink also then drove. So again, seeing how one act can potentially impact a behavior and can impact a variety of other topics in their lives. Similar for driving, it's up to 30% for people who have used cannabis and then decide to go and drive. I then have an academic setting here listed on the right-hand side. And this is something that's always really been fascinating to me. And I think it goes back to my original point around how we are socialized to have alcohol or substances within our sort of college experience and in our lives, and how central of a role it plays, or that it's positioned to play in our lives. When you look at academics and the impediments to academic success, only 2% of students identify that their alcohol use gets in the way of their success in the classroom. While that number might seem, at least to me, pretty low, I think part of it is because they think it's a variety of other issues, and alcohol is not the issue. It's my mental health, it's my relationships, it's the finances, which are all very valid reasons. But I think alcohol has a very unique role in our college-based experience and our campus-based experiences, and it's sort of staggering to me that only 2% identify that it is impacting my drinking, and my frequent drinking use gets in the way of my academic success. So as I've kind of, I guess the top of this slide really synthesizes the last couple for me, and to talk about how wellness is really interconnected. What you're seeing here on this slide is a survey for what they called Chief Student Affairs Officers. This was a study conducted by NASPA in 2014. And these are your vice president of student affairs, student life, your vice chancellors, whatever the title on your campus, but really that top student affairs official. And what are the health and well-being concerns that are on your mind as a leader, as someone who's really driving the direction of the student experience? They broke them up by regions that NASPA has. As you can see, mental health is number one, but across all regions, alcohol abuse was number two. And you can see the variety of other health and well-being topics and issues that were identified by these chief student affairs officers as they think about supporting their campus environment and supporting student success. But really, wellness is this interconnected process that involves a variety of different topics. We're seeing that rise in interconnectedness, and even the word in well-being. I'm not sure. I know there's a variety of conferences to go to and professional development opportunities. One that I have been a part of and have just started to see the trend pointing in this direction is NASPA and NASPA strategies in particular. For the past couple of years, I have served on the planning committee up until this past year, and in particular working on a new track. So as I mentioned, that in the past there have been professionals who may be specifically focused on one topical area: gender violence prevention, alcohol and other drugs, et cetera, et cetera. We're also seeing the rise in these sort of interconnected positions and interconnected tracks. So NASPA Strategies has always had a gender violence prevention track, has had an alcohol and other drug track, has had a mental health track. But now they have started what their WIPL is kind of the term they've used, but it's the Wellness and Health Promotion Leadership Conference, really starting to think about how all of these things come together and how do we create ecosystems and environments that support the whole student and the whole campus, really, not just students, but faculty, staff, students, alumni, friends of the university, things of that nature. But it's been interesting to see the rise in these sort of professional development opportunities, to see the word well-being being thrown around a lot more, as well as you're seeing whole roles and positions that are being created. I know that I have, sort of job alerts that are always on because I'm trying to see what's out there into the field. And there's associate vice presidents or VPs of health and well-being that are all over the board. And seeing those sort of rise to fruition, I think, is because we're seeing not only trends in alcohol and substance use, mental health, but really trying to think about this whole holistic experience. Awesome. Yeah, we have a director of student well-being here, Farah. I really appreciate that. But yeah, we're seeing director level positions, even in vice president positions, who are really trying to think about and position this in a new way. In particular, I wanted to share a little bit of experience that I've had in how I'm seeing this rise of well-being on campus. I've done some work with the American College Health Association and the American College Health, the foundation, and I've worked on a couple of studies and white papers that have been put out there to try to capture this energy, to capture some of those positions that are being created that were just shared, like a director of student well-being. And what we did is we were trying to develop an overview of the range of well-being initiatives currently offered at a varied sort of sample of college and universities. So by no means was it completely comprehensive, but it was just at least trying to answer this question of like, what is well-being and where is it going? We tried to seek this project out to spur innovation and encourage exploration around this evolving well-being practice and strategies. We also wanted to help broaden schools' field of vision to encompass various approaches to well-being. And this sort of all culminated into a white paper that was released about a year ago, a little over a year ago. Just to give some insights, we were able to work with 10 institutions that were selected based off of their sort of innovations in well-being and or their unique approaches to how they're thinking about student health, well-being, and success. Participants included a spectrum of institutions from large state schools to community colleges to private schools, really sort of the spectrum of different institutional types. We also were able to do and conduct interviews with campuses and key stakeholders as well as students to be able to get their experiences about what their campus and what they maybe are currently doing for the health and well-being and success of their students. We did that through virtual interviews, focus groups, and a two-person research sort of team. We were able to, again, really get a good cross-section of diverse high-level demographics of institutional type. Again, large state schools, we had an HBCU, state system school, small private, et cetera, and we actually had enrollments as small as 2,500 all the way up to a 300,000 student population, which was that college university system. What were some of the main takeaways? Potentially new, potentially for some of you not surprising. But some of the main findings from this framing well-being in a college campus setting paper, first and foremost, is that there's no one definition, model, or measurement of well-being. A lot of this comes down to what works for you, what works for your campus and for your constituents. So different schools use different definitions, and there's no one set definition that we're sort of adopting. Each institution is at a different place in establishing their own language around wellness, well-being, and sort of the difference between those two words. What I will say is what was pretty consistent was that it wasn't interconnected. It was a process. And that it did sort of take into these this multifaceted and holistic approach. Those were some three main takeaways from definitions that were sort of seen in all of them, but there isn't one mutually agreed upon definition. Secondly, and I think where I'm excited personally to be working towards is thinking about moving towards a systems approach to well-being. So many institutions, while still primarily employing health education and individual-based strategies, more innovative institutions and where I think the field is headed is in integrating practices and policies that work at a systems level and even beyond the walls of campus into the local communities. So really thinking about creating, again, environments and ecosystems where everyone has the opportunity to succeed and thrive. And last, there is an evolving effort to better define for themselves and nationally, but also measure well-being. So while it's maybe easier for us to from if I've worked in an integrated health and counseling center setting, maybe it's easier for us to quantify the amount of crisis appointments we're having or measure the impact that we're having in relation to clinical outcomes. Well-being is still trying to, because of a lack of definition or set consensus, it's been a little bit harder to measure the impact that we're doing, especially the further and further you go upstream. I think sometimes it becomes harder and harder to be able to make the impact or the direct impact of what you're doing. So there's an evolving need to be able to measure consistently and sort of tell the data points about how we're doing on campus. To sort of contextualize that for you, I shared a lot of American College Health Assessment data. Those are really, really great numbers for us to know, but they often have been clinical by nature. It's where are people at in terms of mental health crises? It's self-report data related to their substance use, to their mental health, to even their nutrition and wearing a seatbelt, right? That's how it's been in the past. But as we shift and move, you can see some of these things sort of starting to creep up there, where there are actually happiness measures, there are like resilience measures, there are more quote unquote well-being type measures that are being put in here. So we can start telling a more comprehensive picture of what's happening on campus, not what's just going wrong or problem areas, but also the things that we're doing well. As higher education professionals, I think we have a duty and responsibility not only to give back and to remediate or fix things that are issues, but we also have a duty and responsibility to support holistic development. And I think sometimes we have really created our structures and systems and have become often maybe triage oriented and crisis centers, which is unfortunate, but we also, I think, have a duty and responsibility to tell a story around how we cultivate well-being on campus. So that's sort of setting the foundation of talking about AOD, substance use, but also seeing that it's not a siloed topic, that it really is a comprehensive, multifaceted, interconnected process, that we have students who are coming to us with a variety of identities, and they also are coming to us with a variety of health and wellness topics or issues that they want to either fix and or develop in. I wanted to then sort of now shift into how we can potentially use technology for good and to create that system-wide approach to well-being. So as I shared, one of my roles and my main role right now is to work at at College. And I'll talk a little bit about how we think about well-being and student success in this way. But really, we started out trying to think about how can we create that system of well-being? How can we really start to build a platform and build a place that can not only allow people to get by, but allow them to really thrive and be at their best. So that slide and this slide really start to show our process. We started out in about 2015, and we really wanted to take a sort of a design thinking and iterative approach to how we're doing. We're constantly using student-centric design, so not only students, but stakeholders at the core of what we do to build out something that can really make the largest impact that we can on campus. So we're constantly starting to sort of observe needs. We're researching potential strategies and solutions, brainstorming, hypothesizing, and then it really gets into this iterative design process where we're exploring, we get feedback, we get new ideas, we experiment, and we're constantly changing and evolving in a way that we can meet the unique needs of our college students today. So to kind of expand a little bit on that story, the U at College platform, we really set out to create something that could connect with people 24/7, 365, that was personalized and unique to, again, the individual needs of students. Every sort of platform or thing that we create has sort of that end user, the student, in mind. And what we saw when we started to do this research in that sort of iterative process is a couple key points came out. First, it has to be comprehensive. It can't just be a mental health tool. It can't just be an alcohol and other drug tool. It really has to move beyond these topical or maybe sometimes siloed topics and really meet students where they are. Because many students don't identify as just needing one source of support. They really want holistic development. They really want to design their ideal college experience. So we needed to consider the factors that influence those things and hopefully also move upstream to focus on primary prevention to help increase awareness and build skills to enable that to happen. The second thing that we heard was that it had to be engaging. It has to look and feel cool. A lot of our students are now digitally native, and we had to create a tool that met them with the same level of excitement, the same level of interactivity, and the same level of personalization that the other apps and other things and technology platforms they're using. It has to sort of match that for them to be able to use it. Additionally, we heard from students that it has to be confidential. If I share something related to my substance use, I don't want someone to come knocking on my door and following up with me. It really has to be a process that I am engaging with on my own. And this allows us to increase sort of honesty and hopefully endorse more resource and help seeking by making it more of a confidential and anonymous process. And last, I've kind of mentioned this, but personal, it has to be personalized. For instance, if I am a student athlete or I'm a first gen student or I am a non-traditional student, I want to make sure that this platform can meet me where I'm at and not be a sort of blanket brushstroke. And so we wanted to make sure that we created something that could personalize based off of how you are now and where you want to be. And that will look different for each campus and will look different for each student. Through that process, we've sort of come up with a three-pronged approach. There's, as I said, there's a lot of different well-being definitions, a lot of different well-being models out there. This is just the one that we chat about and use. And it's a three-pronged approach, and it really, at the core of it, as we started, we sort of started with the Thrive dimension and more thinking about mental health. But we knew that, again, it's not just a siloed topic, and that mental health and even thriving can mean a lot of different things. So the backbone is thinking about our mental and physical health, things like AOD, like sexual health, and some general well-being is sort of our well-being leg of the three-legged stool. Succeed relates to your personal professional growth and development. So things like your academics, basic needs, your finances, and where you might be going in your career path. And then matter. These are things like sense of belonging, how you feel connected on campus. Do you have a sense of purpose? Is there an environment of inclusivity or diversity, equity, and inclusion? So these are sort of the ways that we started to conceptualize with students and with our stakeholders to build out this sort of well-being model. As we evolved from that initial sort of three-legged stool and recognizing that there's interconnectedness amongst all of them, so my mental health could be impacting my physical health, which could impact my sense of community and belonging. We also wanted to think about how we could do some research to guide the development of the U at College platform, specifically around how students seek help. So what we've done is we've created this sort of impact pathway that you're seeing here on the screen, or it might be similar to like a logic model, to align psychological targets within the platform to both short-term and long-term outcomes related to student well-being. The 5 tenets of sort of our sort of platform and how we hope to cultivate resilience and well-being on campus is by building self-awareness, by hopefully gaining new perspectives, fostering a growth mindset or the ability that you could sort of be developed, increase your ability and openness to support on campus, facilitate, again, a growth mindset, and then finding purpose, which is developing a sense of self now and who you want to be in the future. So you see elements of this weaved into each aspect of our platform, and they all are trying to hit on these short-term and long-term outcomes, such as increasing our coping strategies, increasing belongingness and your academic skills, while decreasing barriers to help seeking and for you to sort of stop out and sort of to leave the institution, as well as increase long-term outcomes like mental and physical health, student success, graduation rates, retention, increase social fabric and institutional pride, as well as decrease suicidal ideation and attempts. So each of these things are sort of our mental model, or our logic model, and our impact pathway of what we try to do, and how each of the experiences within our platform really allows students to hopefully move through and hit some of these outcomes. Additionally, we also in that research have come up with our own mental model for help seeking. What we've seen is people come to our platform for really one of two reasons. The first is that they come to either check in on how they're doing. We have built-in self-assessments related to each of those topical areas within Succeed, Thrive, or Matter that they can sort of check in and see how they're feeling. Or they come to us in another way where they choose what they want to focus on. They have some self-awareness and they know that they want to work on their substance use. So they know that sleep is a potential issue that they want to work on. When they come to us in a variety of these different ways, we see that there's kind of three different sort of ways that they are seeking to get help. The first is to get advice. They want, you know, tips, tricks, tools that are out there to be able to help them. So this sort of shows up in our platform in the form of content cards. They also come because they want to get help. So this shows up in campus-specific resources that students can be able to navigate. So going to the health promotion or health education or student well-being office to be able to talk about my substance use, or maybe the counseling center because I know that my mental health is a little off. But they want to kind of self-explore and think about and read some content related to and get some advice on a specific topic. They want to get help and be connected to resources, or they want to maybe do something. And so we have a new feature on our platform, which is really a skill building tool related to each of our different subdomains or sub aspects of well-being, where students are able to walk through action-based oriented content that allows them to hopefully build skills and capacities in that particular area of their life. So as they work through this, they can, again, get help, do something, and get advice, and constantly sort of track their progress, see what works, and then sort of the cycle kind of continues and goes on and on. This impact pathway and mental model, as I've said, has been developed with both our students and end users in mind, as well as with our campus partners. We're now at over 200 colleges and universities, and I only share that for the sake of what's really great is we're able to create a cohesive and comprehensive look at what's happening and what's working at one campus can also hopefully be applied for multiple campuses. So we have this wide breadth of campuses and institutional types and experiences that we're constantly drawing upon to constantly iterate and build out our product to be even better and better for you all in the future and for the users at the end. Here's a quick study that we've done in relation to our platform. This is an independent study that was conducted by one of our partners, CSU Fullerton, to show sort of how that impact pathway and logic model has come to be. But we've seen that in this study that was done in the spring of 2020, 100% of students agreed that the platform was valuable. 93 saw that the resources were relevant to their identities to get to that personalized aspect. 69% of students learned a new skill, and this is 77% among students of color. 82% of students learned a new skill that they have then practiced and utilized in their life. So trying to really create not only an awareness, but also action around students' individualized and personalized ideas of what matters most to them. So since IHAC has such a strong focus on alcohol and other drugs, I wanted to be able to share with you a little bit of insights of what we've seen in terms of utilization across our network as it pertains to alcohol and substance use. So what you're seeing here on the screen, so mindfulness and balance, stress and anxiety, sleep, as well as alcohol and substance use, those are all subdomains or sub aspects of that succeed, thrive, matter model of well-being that we shared. And what you can see here is a screen grab that I took just here this past week, where across our network, little over 3,300 students have identified that alcohol and substance use is a particular topical area that they'd like to focus in on. In addition, I wanted to pull some specific data. As I mentioned, that students come to us for one of two reasons. They either come to kind of check in with themselves, or they come in with a topical area in mind. For the first one, they want to take an assessment and check in. We have self-assessments related to Succeed, Thrive, or Matter. And what I have here are the difference between two of our campus partners, a large public state school, as well as a public state school system, as that relates to the questions on our reality check self-assessments for alcohol and other drugs. So we have questions on there within the Thrive self-check assessment, such as what does an average night of drinking look like for you? Do you believe drug use or substance use is a problem for you? And do you feel like you can't control your relationship with alcohol or other drugs? And so these are sort of the average scores across all users across these two institutions and these two institutional types on those reality check questions that are most closely related to alcohol and substance use. What I really want to, again, highlight here is that you want to keep a pulse of what's going on nationally, but you can see that there are differences here between different institutional types. So it might be different for you than what's maybe being shared nationally. And that's okay. And actually, that's, I think, a really good insight so that we can make sure that what you're doing in terms of your environmental interventions and your content is personalized to what's going to help your students not only get by, but also to thrive. So I wanted to do a quick little activity. And what I'd like to do is, as I said, we're constantly iterating. We're constantly trying to tap into the stakeholders that we are working with around how we can make our platform better and how we can meet the needs of students. So I asked a little bit earlier about what are some of the needs that we have on campus, but what I'd like to do is maybe a quick little activity, if it will work here, where I would like to, if you all could, and I'm going to throw this into the answer in the question, so hopefully you are able to copy and paste it. Let's see here, send to all. Did everyone just get that link? Hopefully within the answer section. And Orlando, I'm not sure if you're able to confirm for me. Yes, thank you, awesome. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pivot my screen over here. But what I'd like to do is, this is just an interactive sort of brainstorming board. And I'd love just to spend a couple of minutes for you to all think about what are the sort of what are the content areas, what are the skills, what are the things related to alcohol and other drug or substance use that you feel that students need. As someone who is in charge of the strategy and execution of our content, I'm really interested in how I can make sure that we're really meeting the unique needs of different campus populations, but also in particular AOD, because it's a topic that's really near and dear to me. So if you are, I see people are starting to join this board. Hopefully it's relatively self-explanatory, but it's basically just a big sticky note whiteboard that we can use together. So this yellow sticky note that you're seeing here are different ideas that I've been thinking about creating some content around for alcohol and substance use. So how can students consider making a change? We're also seeing some trends around sober curious and the sober curious movement. So creating some content around that. How do you support someone who might have an AOD issue? When to seek support building your self-awareness for yourself, and is my drinking too much? Those are just some topics that I've been thinking about. So for you all, if it feels comfortable, you can either, we'll spend a few minutes here now doing this, but if you go over to the left-hand side, I'm hopeful that you'll see a sticky note kind of in the middle of that bar, and then you can pick a fun color, whatever you so choose. But if you just want to type in particular topics that you think would be interesting to employ, you can just type it in there, and then a sticky note will appear on this screen. So if that feels comfortable for you, I just wanted to do about 5 minutes of a fun brainstorm together to see what ideas you think students and or campus can need or would need as it pertains to this issue. Awesome, I'm seeing some come here. Alcohol and fitness goals for performance goals for student athletes. Awesome, yeah, so a specific topic related to student athletes and how alcohol might affect their performance. Alcohol and other drug safety with peers, greater visibility of resources and less stigma around seeking support, absolutely. So I think some of you are getting the hang of it. I'm gonna remain quiet here for a second and allow you all just to brainstorm and see what we can come up with as a group. I'll circle back at 50 after, so it'll give us 3 minutes to do some brainstorming. Take about 1 more minute. Any other ideas that you have, feel free to throw on there. See, one just came in. All right, seeing us slowing down a little bit, I just wanted to sort of wrap up. I appreciate this. This was really helpful. It's kind of fun to do something different, I hope, too. But what I love seeing about this is that it kind of fits in line with a variety of those ways that we want to connect people to support. So I feel like there's some good content here related to sort of advice or some facts and tips and strategies. That also kind of aligns with the idea of skill building, some particular strategies around this. But then also I'm hearing, how can we connect people to resources on campus? Not only that will decrease stigma, but also show them that there are alcohol-free events or that there are things on campus that we can connect them to should they be having a particular issue. So like involvement and engagement. This is really, really good, really, really helpful. I appreciate it. The link will still be live, so if you have other ideas or want to come back to this because you need to think on it, please feel free to. I'm going to keep this open and use it as just kind of my own personal brainstorming board as I think about alcohol and other drugs content for what we're doing. But thank you very much. All right, so as we sort of round the corner here, I wanted to talk about some, oops, here we go. Sorry, got to show my slides back. Talk about some best practices that we've seen, some things we've highlighted already. First, well-being is an interconnected process. It's not siloed. And I think we're seeing that in the rise of positions, as well as professional development opportunities, as well as what we're hearing from students. Secondly, well-being is individualized and varies by institution. So in some ways, we think like one size fits all. And I think in some ways we're seeing, based off some of our campus data, as well as anecdotally, one size sometimes fits none. So making sure that these services and offerings that we have are individualized and really meet students where they are. There's also a huge need for cross-departmental whole campus approaches to student support and success. While there might be a director of student well-being or a health promotion office on campus, it's really a duty and responsibility of the entire campus to support those measures. So there's a real need, and obviously there's leadership in those offices and in those positions, but it really does take cross-departmental environmental sort of support to make sure that we can really move the needle on some of these success metrics that we are interested in. There's an ongoing movement to measure and report out on the impact of well-being. And I think that we're seeing some of those both in the American College Health Association's assessment. We're thinking about that in some unique ways. And I know that individual campuses and our partners are really thinking about how they can measure the impact of these upstream preventative and promotional based activities for student success. And that there's a need for seeing well-being as a continuum, and it's also a process. It's not a check that box, we've done it, but it really is a continuum, and we need to support the whole continuum, not just the crisis, but also to really promote the things that we want to see. And then connected to that point, the idea of wellness as a continuum, I think in particular COVID for us really highlighted this, that we really need to think holistically. And so our team has thought about holistically how we can support students amongst everything from enhancing well-being to earlier intervention to referral to care to treatment and to maintenance, and have really aligned the things that the solutions that we have alongside that to be able to really think a little bit more globally and holistically as we've gained and garnered some of those insights from campus partners as well as from national trends. So we're really trying to do that, and we will continue to. And then with your help, I think we'll be able to make specifically our alcohol and other drug content even better. But what I wanted to do now is open it up to some discussion and any questions that we may have before we wrap up for today.
And while we wait for questions, I want to make a quick announcement that we will be sending certificates out between 7 to 10 business days, and we will have an evaluation form tomorrow sent out to your email. And the filling out the evaluation will help us with future events.
Lovely. Yeah, thank you for that. I know those are important, and CEUs are vital to the continual progression of our profession. I'll hang out here if there are any more particular questions. If not, we can have 5 minutes back within our day, and you can transition to your next thing for the afternoon or morning, wherever you're joining us from. But I appreciate your time and energy. I'm just going to put up my contact information here should you have any further questions or want to follow up on any of this. So my email is listed there, as well as the U at College, which is the platform I was primarily talking about. The website is there listed for your information. But thank you so much for joining today. I appreciate it. Sorry you couldn't see me, but hopefully the content was there, and I appreciate the engagement on our little interactive activity today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, James, for presenting. It seems like there's no questions coming in, so I will just end the event.
Sounds good. I see some people are dropping off. So see you all, everyone. Thank you so much. Feel free to follow up if you have any particular questions via email.